Hello and welcome to a new episode of Minds of the Nile podcast, brought to you by Information and Decision Support Center at the Egyptian Cabinet. And today we have a great opportunity for meeting Ms. Mirna Arif, the General Manager at Microsoft Egypt, and she has been at the forefront of the tech industry, driving innovation and digital transformation in Egypt. And it's a real pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Rahab, so much. It's my absolute pleasure being with you today.
Thank you so much. And you have had a very long journey, and I'm sure that there has been key milestones in this journey. So it would be amazing if you can tell us more.
First of all, as I said, it's an absolute pleasure being with you today and on Minds of the Nile. I've seen such amazing episodes, and it's a true honor to be among such amazing leaders. So thank you so much for having me. And it's always a pleasure being hosted at Idsc, a place I really cherish the partnership we have with them. As for my career, it's been a bit of a roller coaster journey, as I like to call it. It had many ups and downs and inflection points. So I am an AC graduate. I graduated back in 2002 from computer science. And straight out of university, I joined Schlumberger, which was an oil and gas services company. So I kind of did the career shift at the beginning of my career. I spent the first 12 years of my career at Schlumberger, and I've done so many things. So I started in Egypt in a commercial role, not even a technical role. Then I grew up the ranks. I took over some leadership role, became a sales leader. Then I became the Egypt manager for the software company of Schlumberger. During that time, I also did my MBA at the American University in Cairo, and I had my two beautiful kids, who are no longer kids, at the same time as well. Then one of my biggest inflection point was at the end of 2010, early 2011, when I decided to take my first international assignment. It was again with Schlumberger, and I moved to London at the time. I took over the UK and Ireland business. It's the sales director for one of the largest locations at Schlumberger at the time. And it was a real moment of change, because I think this was a moment when I decided to push the boundaries a little bit more, get out of my comfort zone. Traveling with two young kids and having to work in a different environment with different people was really an eye-opener. I spent a couple of years in that role. Then I became the global marketing director for the software company of Schlumberger, again based in London. And then that became more of an interesting ride. I had to travel the world, manage the kids, do so many things. So I became a very good juggler at the time. But my biggest milestone that I would say in my career was really towards the end of 2014. And that was the time when I was asking myself, it was more of an existential moment, so to speak. What do I really want to do? I've always known I wanted a career. I've always known I wanted to work and make impact. But what I was really striving for was making a real difference, driving real tangible impact. And at the time, I was offered to come back to Egypt and join the Ministry of Petroleum, so took a job with the government. I was the Assistant Minister of Petroleum, looking after investment and international cooperation. And that was a life-changing moment. First of all, because I basically decided to leave London, leave my 12-year corporate career, take a leap of faith. It was really a genuine leap of faith. And it wasn't because I wasn't growing in my career, and it wasn't because the company wasn't good, it wasn't because the learning wasn't enough, but it was really because I wanted to test myself, get out of the comfort zone. That was the company I worked for 12 years. And I really wanted to contribute back to my country. I wanted to be exposed even further. And it was one of the best learning experience throughout my entire 22 years career journey so far. I did that for a year. Then I decided to go back to my corporate life again. I joined a company called Emerson Automation. I became the regional manager for Gulf region for one of their biggest segments, which was the Rosemount Group. So I moved to Qatar at the time, and I was doing the role out of Qatar, covering the entire Gulf region. I did that for a couple of years, and then I went back to Egypt with General Electric. So I joined GE Oil and Gas. I became the Digital Transformation Director for GE Oil and Gas, looking after North Africa and Turkey. A year and a half down the road, Microsoft came along, and I told you it's a bit of a roller coaster. There are lots of changes. And that's when I joined Microsoft in Dubai. That was in March 2019 for the first role with them, which was basically looking after the devices, business, and Surface lineup for Middle East and Africa. And Microsoft was really a breath of fresh air. It was an amazing company to work for. And less than a year down the road, I was offered to come back again to Egypt. There is always this relationship with whenever anyone tells me to come back home, I always take it and I come home. And I became the general manager of Microsoft in Egypt in March 2020. So that's more or less my roller coaster experience.
That's really amazing, and it's always inspiring to hear the bright side of the story. But as a woman working in tech industry globally and nationally, I'm sure you have faced important challenges that has really affected your character and your career journey. So what are the many challenges you remember has really affected your personality?
Absolutely, and again, I wouldn't say that it was anything that would have made me stop as such. I think the challenges were my biggest motivation for me to push forward and to continue. And I've been very lucky throughout my career journey with amazing mentors who have supported both my personal and my professional career. But there were key moments throughout my career that I remember vividly. For example, I remember my first big promotion back in the time when I had just had my second child, and I just came back from maternity leave, so it was towards the end of 2008, and I was being offered to become the regional sales director. So I was not just going to look after Egypt, but it was the whole East Mediterranean and East Africa at the time. And I remember sitting with my manager at the time, and he was telling me there is this amazing opportunity and I think you will be the best person for it, and it's really good. And I'm like, thank you so much for thinking of me, and of course, thank you, I would like, yeah, but it would be very difficult. Why is it going to be difficult? Well, because you just came back, you have a 3-year-old daughter, and you just came back from maternity with your second child. And I'm like, what does this have to do with my capability of doing the job? And he said, no, nothing. So I told him, children aside, being a female aside, all my responsibilities aside, do you actually think I have what it takes? And he said, yes, of course you do. I'm like, okay, so what are we discussing? Just give me the job. And the good thing is he actually did. And he said, you know what, I think you'll do a great job. And that was way before diversity and inclusion was a thing. But then I was smart enough to ask for also what I wanted and what worked for me. So I told him, thank you, I'll take the role. But I'm going to leave every day at 5 p.m. because I'll come to the office very early. My kids don't sleep anyway, so I'll wake up early. I'll come to the office. I'll leave at 5 because I need to go look after the kids. And then I'll pick up again at 9, and I'm okay with traveling. I'll have my support network, and I was very lucky having my mom and having a very good support network to support me, and I've done it. So that was one moment where I think if the position was offered to a guy, they would have never asked that question. There would have never been that thought. And then the other one was sometimes not the challenge, rather than the skepticism. There is a lot of skepticism that you face as a woman being in a leadership position, looking young at some point as well. It's just that look, it's like, who is she? Can she actually do it? She's too young. What's her background? What is she doing? But then I never let that get into me either, because I do the work. I never claim that I know everything, because I don't. It's a continuous learning journey, and I remember very well when I took over my current role back in March 2020, and it was COVID, and the first thing I had to do was deal with a crisis before anything else. And I didn't know the team, I didn't know the industry, I didn't know the customers, the partners, but I said that, you know what, I'm going to learn from every single person I'm going to meet. And I never claimed I knew everything. There were so many cases where I said, I don't know about that, let me go back and check, and I'll come back to you. And that's how you build credibility and trust. So skepticism was a big challenge I have to face sometimes, but I always overcome.
As you said, as a young lady and as a mother, and you have done great experiences in a very short time, and you have had experiences globally and with international organizations, it was not easy at all. How do you think this has affected your leadership style and your approach to management?
Yeah, I love that question, because when I think about it, I think if we think about leadership today, one of the most important leadership today that everyone talks about is empathy. And I think no one better than female could bring that to the table. And it doesn't take away from the other important leadership traits of course, business acumen and productivity and looking at numbers and so on. But I think empathy is key. And the fact that I traveled a lot and that I'm a mother, I'm a single mom actually, so I'm doing a lot on my own with the kids. You learn to be very empathetic. You learn to look at everyone else's perspective, and that's how I like to lead. So it's true, a leader needs to lead at the forefront most of the time. You set the pace, you set the direction, you set the objectives. But majority of the time, I lead from within. And a lot of times, I lead from behind because I love to push my people. I like to push their boundaries. I like them to get out of their comfort zone. I want to make sure that their ideas are heard. Majority of the time, I really sit at the same table. And that's what I tell my team all the time. I mean, we just happen to be wearing different hats. And my hat happens to be the manager of the team. But we're all one team, because if not every single person on that table succeeds, then no one does. So that's my preference.
Amazing. Let's go back to your current career, and you're the general manager at Microsoft Egypt, and you know that Egypt is taking important steps into digital transformation, and 2030 vision has important goals and KPIs for digital transformation.
Absolutely.
So how do you see the role of Microsoft in the future of digital transformation in Egypt?
First of all, we're truly proud to be one of the key strategic partners for the government, really enabling and empowerment the digital transformation vision. And as an Egyptian, I'm extremely, extremely proud that digitalization and digital transformation sits at the core of Egypt Vision 2030. I think in the past few years, everybody has witnessed how technology is taking center stage. Technology is a key enabler for driving the future, whether it's enabling the future workforce or really transforming organizations and industry. And I'm very proud that we get to play such a key role. If I can look at the past couple of years, at least we were able to land more than 60 projects, digital transformation project, mega project in the country across different sectors. We are a partner of choice with the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, and we really work with them to align our Microsoft Egypt strategy with the digital Egypt strategy as well. So the way we look at it is our strategy has 4 main pillars, and we call it Microsoft Loves Egypt. The first pillar is to empower digital transformation across the different sectors. The second pillar is to help the country build a digital economy. And that's really by looking at empowering SMEs, empowering startups. The third pillar is to help the country build a digital society, and that's through the various skilling and upskilling and reskilling initiatives that we're truly proud to partner with different entities in the countries on. And then last but not least is really driving impactful societal change. And that's by bringing some of our philanthropic engagement, that's by participating in key initiatives like Haya Karima, and that's by enabling emerging technology to really solve some of society's most powerful challenges like climate change, for example, and leveraging AI tools like AI for agriculture. How do we optimize and enable our agriculture system? So we've been busy in the past few years, and we're continuing the journey, and there are so many projects on the line that we're still working on.
This is amazing, and these efforts include an MOI and a collaboration between Microsoft Egypt and Idsc, Information and Decision Support Center. So if you can share more insights about this collaboration and cooperation, and what are the expected results and goals you aim to achieve in the upcoming years? Absolutely.
I mean, Idsc remains to be one of the biggest strategic partners we have, and we're truly proud with our partnership with them. We did sign this MOU almost a year ago. And it has 3 main pillars. The first pillar is to really empower and enable IDSC's staff with the latest technology to ensure that they have the latest and greatest that they can use to really run whether it's data or AI, run the analytics and the reports they need. The second pillar is around running the envisioning workshop around digital transformation. So as we said, digital transformation sits at the core of Egypt Vision 2030 and Digital Egypt. And for us to be able to really look and identify the top priority sectors and where we're heading, it's important to run these envisioning sessions, and that's done with the help of IDSC, where we gather different industry leaders, different sectors, different ministries, and we run how are we going to help the government transform this sector, whether it's the Ministry of Agriculture, whether it's Ministry of Justice, and we run these various workshops in collaboration with IDSC. And then the third pillar is the projects we implement together. So there are a few projects that we're working on for IDSC, like OCR, for example, where we've digitized their entire documents library, and IDSC has one of the most rich libraries in the country. So we're very proud to be able to maintain such heritage. And other projects are around gathering expertise, because again, if you look at a country like Egypt, it's really rich with its people, it's rich with its knowledge, and it's rich with the knowledge that these people have. Some of the issues we face, whether it's private sector organization or public sector organization, is finding this skill set, finding this expertise. So we're working with IDSC to build a system where you can really gather the expertise. You tag them, you link them to project, so you know who to find, where to find, how to find them, and it's all done in a digital smart way. We're also working with them on building smart dashboards, whether it's for crisis management, whether it's for social indicators. So there is a lot of work that we're proudly participating and collaborating with IDSC on.
That's really amazing, and I really want to ask you about how do you see women's contribution in the tech industry globally and mainly nationally? So we're talking about a really inspiring role model for many young women who may have passion for working in the tech industry. So how do you assess women's contribution in this field?
I love that question, and as you may assume, of course, I get asked that question a lot. I think the role of women in society in general, in the job market as a whole, is no longer a matter of fairness. And if we look at the tech industry in particular, if you don't engage females in the tech industry, we basically lose on 50% of half of the world brain power. And I look at the tech industry, I mean, this is the top engines for innovation. We need everyone to be engaged. We need all the perspectives, all the ideas. So failing to engage women in tech means we're failing on 50% of our engines of innovation. So it's no longer a matter of fairness. And if we look around other economies and other societies that have thrived, they have done so because they have a very high rate of women participation in the workforce. So the way I look at it, and this is part of our role as well in Microsoft in Egypt, is really looking at how we encourage and empower women and girls who are looking to pursue careers in tech, how we show them the different paths, because the way we look at different industries today, you don't have to work in tech to be digitally savvy. Everyone needs digital skills. And that's what we're trying to empower through various initiatives that we're running. Like, for example, there is a Microsoft initiative called DigiGirls, where we go in schools, basically targeting girls between 13 and 16, to tell them more about STEM, about the different career paths, about the importance of technology, to run different hackathon and coding engagement. But we also have very structured skilling and learning initiative that we're doing with the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, whether it's in Digital Egypt Builders initiative or particularly for women initiatives like She Codes and Women Texters that focus on enabling and empowering females in particular.
Thank you so much for all the valuable insights you have shared with us. And actually, I still have more questions. So please. That would be the end of part 1 of this interview. And please stay tuned for our second part of our interview with Ms. Mirna Arif, General Manager at Microsoft Egypt, with Minds of the Nile podcast. Thank you.